Brandon Johnson and Chicago police calling for the community to step up and help after an extraordinarily violent weekend. More than 100 people shot on Chicago streets.
And WGN's Julian Cruz is live in the city's South Austin neighborhood with more now. Julian?
Good evening, Ray and Mike. Families across Chicago devastated by the violence here on the west side. One family we talked to dealing with their loss. Gunshot victim Melvin Hill found shot to death late last night here in his South Austin apartment.
CPDtip.com. Please give us information.
Top police commanders appealing for help to solve the case of victims like Melvin Hill, found unresponsive on his kitchen floor late last night, investigators say, with a gunshot wound to the head on the 200 block of North Central. Hill, one of 19 Chicagoans who lost their lives the 4th of July weekend.
19 families who woke up this morning without a son, without a daughter, without a mother, without a father.
Mayor Brandon Johnson at the Public Safety Building with Police Superintendent Larry Snelling and others. He says it's going to take everyone to slow the violence, with a staggering 109 shootings overall this violent holiday weekend.
So after over 100 people are shot, what does Brandon Johnson do? Mayor Brandon Johnson, little BJ, what does he do? He blames others. He blames the previous administration. Watch this.
A simple message from the mayor to those thinking about crime. The mayor also speaking about crime in light of a violent week across the city. He puts the blame on the previous administration for the situation that Chicago now faces.
This city was running to the ground. And everybody knows that. It jacked up the finances, got bad deals. And so now we're left with the chaos and the mess that was created by other people. But today is a testament that if we continue to work together at every single level of government, it's going to take all of us in the community to continue to hold these individuals accountable, but to make sure that we're making critical investments in the people of Chicago. The homicides and shootings will continue to fall, and investments will continue to get up.
They could not get a more clueless mayor. If they tried, they couldn't. I mean, again, I'm not saying Lori Lightfoot was good. She was bad. But the fact of the matter is, so are you, Brandon Johnson. You're bad. You're horrible. And again, you don't hold anyone accountable for what they do wrong. You don't hold the criminals accountable. You don't want, reporters calling kids thugs that jump on cars, that loot. I mean, again, you don't want them being called thugs. That's what they are. And again, if you want change, you have to hold people accountable for what they do. And if you don't, it's never going to become better. But now, get this. He's holding Richard Nixon accountable. Not the ones that are actually doing stuff wrong, but a man that's been dead for more than 30 years. But guys, watch this.
The fact of the matter is, where there is most violence, that's where the poverty is most pervasive. And this is not just unique to Chicago. This is all over the planet. Where there's poverty, there's destruction and terror and torment. Now, as I said, I'll finish with this. We got to hold people accountable. But you know what my ultimate goal is to transform this city so we cut off the pipeline of boys between the ages of 10 and 19 being either victims or the perpetrators. So, yeah, it is personal. Black death has been unfortunately accepted in this country for a very long time. We had a chance 60 years ago to get at the root causes, and people mocked President Johnson. And we ended up with Richard Nixon. I'm going to work hard every day to transform this city. That's what it takes to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And I need everybody to step up and help us do that.
Well, of course, it's Nixon's fault. It's got to be. It can't be yours. It can't be any Democrat. It can't be LBJ when he introduced a welfare state back in, 64? I mean, it can't be any Democrat It has to be Republican. Why? Because you can't hold yourself accountable for what is going on in your city. You can't hold anyone in your own party accountable. You can't hold black people accountable for what they're doing. I mean, again, we understand that you didn't want reporters calling black kids thugs. Why? Because it would hurt their feelings when they're out there jumping on cars, burning stuff down, looting. But again, you could not be honest and say, hey, they are thugs. That is what thugs do. Thugs do what they do. But again, you got to blame somebody else. You got to blame systemic racism. You got to blame white supremacy. You got to blame Richard Nixon, a man that's been dead for 30 years. And the thing is, you can't hold yourself accountable. You can't hold black people accountable. You can't hold Democrats accountable. And again, guess what? When you give people things like welfare, when you give people things, they tend to take advantage of it. And they tend not to do things for themselves, which, number one, causes a problem. They have no self-actualization. They're not going to become something. And they're going to get mad. And they're going to blame whoever you tell them to blame. And it's going to be the white man, the white boogeyman. And again, stop giving people things that cause them to become dependent on the government. I'm not saying don't help people out for some time, but it has to be taken away, slowly taken away. And let people deal with the consequences of their own actions or inactions. But again, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do it because everyone to you, if they're black, if they're from Chicago, if they're LGBTQ, if they're trans, whatever, they're victims. No, they're not. And again, that's what the problem is with the left. They have this fake compassion. Oh, we gotta feel bad for everyone. We gotta feel sorry for everyone. They're victims. No, you're making them into victims by telling them they are. There's full equality under the law. And again, by giving people money, food, whatever, you're making them dependent. There is a reason why there are signs up at parks that say, don't feed the bears, don't feed the animals. Why? Because it makes them dependent. And that causes danger, not only for the animals, but for the people as well. They end up walking right up to the people and expecting something. And when they don't get something, they attack the people. And they can't hunt for themselves because you're giving them something. Stop giving people something. Let them fall on their face. They will get back up. And the ones that don't, won't. But stop subsidizing bad behavior. Stop rewarding bad behavior. Again, if people come across the border into this country illegally, don't advocate for them to get stuff, to get food, to get shelter, and for us to pay for it. You're rewarding bad behavior. It's not going to stop. It's only going to get worse. And that's all Nixon did. I mean, again, I'm not saying everything Nixon did was great, but the Republican Party as a whole wants people to be accountable for themselves. for their families, for their own people. Again, that is Christ-like. That is the way things work. I mean, again, like in the Bible, if you don't work, you don't eat. Now, again, I'm not saying we shouldn't have programs to help people that are disabled or can't do for themselves, or for a short time they need assistance. But that's it. The thing is, you want to blame people like Richard Nixon. Really? You should be blaming LBJ. Because again, back in 1960, 75% thereabouts of black households had a man in the house. Now it's like 25%. And we also know that about 75% of prisoners, prison inmates, came from families without a father. We understand the correlation there. We get it. So again, that's what the issue is. So why don't you blame LBJ? He's a Democrat. He wanted to give out free stuff. Beware of anyone that wants to give you free stuff. They want something. They're after something. But guys, if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thanks. You son of a